everyone, welcome back to Pretty Terrifying, the channel where we talk about horror movies, games, and other media that I find interesting while having a little bit of fun. Now, before commotion starts, I know I am late. It's almost the end of January, and we're about to begin February, but I really wanted to talk about 5 horror projects that are coming out this year in 2026 that I am most excited for. And if there are some horror projects or recommendations you guys are excited for or want to give, make sure to leave them in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions and looking into new things to expand my horizons. But anyways, let's get on with the video, starting with number 5. Now we're getting into it nice and strong with Terrifier 4 at number 5. Terrifier 4 is something I've been eagerly waiting to get updates on. All I know is that in a 3C Films video from a while ago, check him out, he's a fantastic YouTuber, he managed to talk to Damien Leone at a horror convention where he said that Terrifier 4 is in the process of being written, and that in the first 15 minutes we're going to explore Art the Clown's backstory. Now, I loved Terrifier 2 and 3. I saw 3 opening day in the theaters. I enjoyed the first one, but not as much as the other ones. Now, what do I want for Terrifier 4? I do hope there is less, like shock value, which I did like that element when it came to Terrifier. I just wish there's more story, more explanation, and from what I've been hearing, we might get that in this 4th movie, and Sienna Shaw is the perfect final girl. To see her story finally conclude with Art's, it's definitely going to be a big moment, and I will be sitting there in the theater seeing it unfold, basically. Coming in at number 4, we have Scream 7, releasing this year in February. Now, as a Scream and Ghostface fan, I am very excited. It's also being directed by the person who made the Scream series. He didn't direct any of them, but he wrote some of them and he created these characters, and I am very excited to see him in the director's chair. Now, this film is very much shrouded in controversy, notably with Spyglass and Melissa Barrera being fired for sharing pro-Palestinian views. And I feel like I can't really talk about Scream 7 without talking about this. I'm very hateful and critical when it comes to politics, but what I cannot stand is genocide. I am very against it. What Israel is doing is despicable and inhumane, and I do not stand for that one bit, and I am on Melissa's side in this controversy. I am also very disappointed because with Scream 6, I feel like they were building up to something to complete a trilogy with both Melissa's and Jenna Ortega's character, and I was very looking forward to it. I really did enjoy Scream 5, even though it's my least favorite out of the series. Scream 6, it was one of my favorite modern Scream movies. So Scream 7 was something I was looking forward to, and seeing these is very heartbreaking. I really don't know. Like, when I first saw it, I was very angry. And I was just very disappointed. I thought for sure that they were going to really mess up the franchise and the reputation of it being, one of the most iconic and better slashers out there. But, I feel like with the current state of Scream 7 bringing in a director who pretty much created this universe, and they're pretty much bringing old killers back. I don't know what they're doing. They're bringing the original actors. Matthew Lillard, I know he's going to do somewhat good in the movie. He's my favorite actor. But I feel like they're using nostalgia bait to distract people from what's really going on in this film. And that's why it's so low on the list. That's why I am also very cautiously optimistic about it, because I still have high hopes for the film. I hope it does good. And I hope Spyglass learns their lesson. But at the same time, with corporate stuff, it's very unlikely. But I want people to know I stand with Melissa, and I do not agree with what Spyglass did at all. Now, moving on, what do I think of the film itself? Story wise, it looks interesting, but I am also cautiously going into it. It could be nostalgia bait, or they could do something really cliche to bring old killers back. I have a couple theories, but I would not be sharing them. But also, like, I also really liked some of the action, like the Ghostface stabbing through the wall, trying to get Sydney and her daughter. Um, and I am also excited to see Sydney back. And I also really like that she named her daughter Tatum after her best friend from the first one, who was murdered. And yeah, otherwise, I think it's gonna be okay. It's 50-50 whether this movie will be good or not, but I will still be checking it out at some point. I also apologize if I seem, like kind of like spacing my words or something like that. This is something very delicate and a very hard subject to talk about. I have a hard time talking about things like this, so I kind of take my time, and because I want to try to share my feelings and give a description of what's going on at the same time. So please bear with me when I talk about subjects like this. But anyways, let's move on to the next one. For the number 3 spot, we have Evil Dead Rise, releasing July 24th. Now, there's not really much known about the film. From what I've looked into, it's like a survival horror. I also really like that the director has talked about using as much practical effects as possible, which I'm a sucker for some good practical effects. And I don't care what anyone says, all right? I loved Evil Dead Burn. It's one of my favorite movies in a while. Um, Now, granted, I don't really know much about the other Evil Dead movies. Um, I really want to get into it. I'm just waiting to buy them on physical media because I don't really like to do streaming services. But from what I've seen with Evil Dead Rise, I am very excited. I know that Evil Dead Burn is somewhat in that same realm. Evil Dead's Rise effects and story was very intriguing to me, and I really loved it. And Evil Dead Burn, I won't be surprised if it's as good as Evil Dead Rise. I think from what I've been hearing, it'll be one of the better movies, and I'm very excited. I will definitely be seeing it in the theater for this one. But I am willing to bet money on this. The Evil Dead Burn will be good. And I know they just announced another Evil Dead movie, and I am also excited for that one. I cannot wait. I also love that Evil Dead Burn is also produced by Sam Raimi, the original creator of Evil Dead. I love Sam Raimi as a director and producer. He's very talented, and I am excited to see how this director pulls this off. Now, for number 2, these next two are going to be extremely predictable if you know me. For number 2, we have Zach Cregger's Resident Evil movie. Not entirely is known about Zach Cregger's Resident Evil reboot, but we do know this. It's starring Austin Abrams, and it will be original story within the universe. Now, I know us Resident Evil fans, we want a proper adaptation. I really want one as well. I would kill for a Resident Evil 1 movie or a Resident Evil 0 movie. But I am also not opposed to original stories. Now, before you all come for me, I know the Resident Evil movies have a bad reputation. for not being good and not sticking with the source material. I know Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City tried to be faithful, but when trying to combine two games into one movie and changing a few things and changing certain aspects of characters, it's not going to end well. But with that said, I have seen Barbarian. I am still waiting to see Weapons, but from what I have been seeing, reviews on his movies, what people think of him, and the positive reception for the most part, I have full faith in Zach Cregger that he will make a good movie. Now, what do I think about what we do know about the film? From what I've been seeing with most consistency, it's about Austin Abrams' character being a courier who is sent for delivery to a remote hospital but finds himself in the middle of the outbreak that occurs within Resident Evil 2 and 3. And he has to survive through monstrosities and things like that. I think it's an interesting story. Could be fun, could be scary, and I hope there's more horror in this than action. I think Austin Abrams will pull it off, and I also think that Zach Cregger is a fantastic director and will pull this off. Well, with that being said, I'm just excited. I'm excited. I will be seeing it in theaters, and yeah, that's all I really have to say for Zach Cregger's Resident Evil reboot. Let's move on. Now for my number one. It's not a horror movie. It's a horror game. And I have talked about it on this channel in my last video. My number one spot is taken by Resident Evil Requiem. I have been ecstatic about this game since it was announced at Summer Games Fest last July. I really like the story that they're trying to tell. We get to go back to Raccoon City. My boy Leon is back. And we have a new protagonist, Grace Ashcroft. And I am excited to see her story. I know she's connected with Alyssa Ashcroft from the Resident Evil Outbreak series. And I am really pumped. I know I talked about it a little bit in my last video talking over about the Resident Evil showcase that happened recently. So I won't go too much into that. But you pretty much play as both characters, Leon and Grace. It's one big story. Leon has some sort of infection. I'm not really sure what it is. And Grace's story seems very important. And I really am excited. The gameplay looks awesome. Graphically, it looks insane. The monster designs are awesome, and the zombies are great. I'm just really excited about it. I don't want to talk about it too much, because I don't want to spoil it for other people. But if you really want to, there's a bunch of places to, check out and learn more about it. My recommendation is one of my favorite Resident Evil channels, Let's Talk Resident Evil. They're fantastic. Right now they're doing live streams of the important games leading up to the release of Requiem. And they break down trailers, they talk about theories, and they seem like pretty decent guys. I'll put a link for their channel in the description. But anyways, let's continue on. But in all honesty, I think Resident Evil Requiem, or RE9, is a contender for Game of the Year from what I've seen, and probably one of the best horror projects to come out in a while. Game-wise, that is. Movie-wise, I still think it's either going to be Evil Dead Burn or Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. But let's continue on. And that's my top 5 things, horror-related things I am excited for 2026. During the Screen 7 bit, I do apologize if it seems upsetting and things like that. I feel like you can't really talk about Scream 7 without talking about those subjects. And I like to be more open, honest, and truthful with my community. Because I feel like as a creator, that's something that you should be doing. Instead of ignoring it. Because that's not a good thing. But anyways, that's pretty much my list. Now, in the comments down below, what are your top 5 horror-related things that comes out this year? I want to know. And if you have any recommendations, be sure to drop them in the comments. I'm always open to them. And if you like the video, give it a like, a sub only if you want to. And yeah, I'm slowly trying to talk normally on camera, so I have a hard time with that. But I'm slowly getting used to it. But anyways, if you like my content and want to see more, I have a Instagram where I post somewhat updates and repost my TikTok videos. I have my TikTok where I post videos occasionally, and a Twitter that I'm slowly trying to ease into using again. They will all be right there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you on the other side of the blade. This has been pretty terrifying.